One of the options that was given this body was redirecting funds. Redirecting funds, in essence, to ODOT to be able to say, here's your budget, and here are ways in which you're spending money that we would like to make sure that if the narrative the governor says is true, which is ironically, I guess we all accept because she said it, that without new taxes, no roads get plowed. Unsafe. I've had people email me, and perhaps you have too, that said people are going to be seriously hurt, if not die, unless we raise taxes. Well, I guess that's the narrative the governor wants us to accept. A false dichotomy, in essence, a logical fallacy that says these are the only options you get. Well, we put forth an option. This body wouldn't hear it. LC7 on your desk. That redirects money. See? House Bill 3992 was apparently is quite doable, right? You can tell ODOT how to spend their money. But you don't want to do that until you have new revenue, taxes, doubling the payroll tax, raising the gas tax, raising fees when you register cars. Then all of a sudden there's an eagerness to say, well, now we're going to direct ODOT. I guess that shows that the false narrative by the governor was, after all, a false dichotomy. The budget can be directed by the people chosen to serve in this Senate and in this House. Unfortunately, that's not the path that we're on. When ODOT was asked by Leader Bonham, the great leader of the Senate Republicans, ODOT was asked by Leader Drazen in the House, what are the tasks you're doing that are not necessary to your core mission? ODOT, to its credit, gave us a memo and said, well, this. You'll see a lot of those suggestions in LC7, which I know you'll all read eagerly, because after all, that was the alternative. Ironic in a way that the only answer to budget narratives set by the governor is new taxes. You know, I stood on the floor here, I think it was early June, and I said, we just passed $37 trillion of national debt. Well, today we're 37.54. Do you know, since I stood on here in June, I know you were all eagerly listening to me and engaged in what I had to say. Since that time, as we stand here in September, albeit late September, we've run up more debt at the national level than we did in the first 204 years of this republic. And of course, it begs the question, what's to come? Well, my friends, we are in a storm, a budgetary storm. And Oregon is going to be called on again and again and again to address budgetary constraints as a result. And if the only answer is to raise taxes, then we got poor leadership. This House bill we're about to vote on does the tasks that we could have done without its accompanying bill. We could have simply come together, rolled up our sleeves, and said, what do we need to do to make sure those roads are plowed? What do we need to do to make sure we get guardrails on the roads? What do we need to do to make sure our system runs and our roads are safe? We could have done that. See how easy it is? It's called a bill. We can redirect. But that's not what the governor wanted. That's not what this Senate apparently wants, and that's not what the House wanted. So I stand in opposition because of the process. Colleagues, today's transportation, built upon the false dichotomy of choices, set by a governor who doesn't want to discuss budget reform.